Excuse me, ma'am, are these plants legal?
Why, yes they are.
Well, it's that time of year again. We're having our plant sale. And while we're doing this, I'm doing a little work on the truck. So I'll start to flop this wire harness back in here. This part I had to kind of unloom a little bit. I want to see if I can get this fuse holder back in its normal spot. And then I was able to kind of get some of the big connectors back in place down here. All of this stuff goes underneath the steering wheel. This batch goes to the back of the cluster. This is like all the radio wiring. Some of this stuff I want to see if maybe eventually I can downsize some of that, but right now I'm just trying to get it all thrown back in here. Got the terminator kind of hanging there. I did make an aluminum block off plate, and then I ran some of the wiring up where the factory ECU was. So I think what I might want to do eventually is do like 2 bulkhead connectors right here on an aluminum plate, and then just have like everything in the engine bay connect to those 2 spots. So the aluminum plate is just trimmed and fit in here, and then I just use some riv nuts on the back side of here. So it actually works out well where I can run the bolt through, and it kind of acts like a stud on the back side now. So I think I might just make like another aluminum bracket that bolts to those studs and mounts the ECU there. So the mission for this is to just get everything back in and get the truck out. So hopefully next weekend-ish I can get it to the track and make a couple passes. I don't think I even showed that I painted the cage yet, so kind of what the cage looks like. I used some of this Rust-Oleum hammered finish brush-on paint. Looks pretty good, I think. Got this kind of hammered texture finish, and I like how it turned out. I'm going to keep working on this, trying to get the rest of the dash in. Then I also have to block this big hole that was down there for the transfer case shifter. Alrighty guys, so it was probably like 3 or 4 days later. I've just been working on this thing kind of all week. I don't even know when the last clip was, but I got a lot done. I did have a little water leak on the thermostat housing, so I just took care of that. Put some RTV on it. I swapped out my injector O-rings because one of the injector O-rings, actually on cylinder 1, was like hardened and shrunk to the point where the top hat wouldn't even hold the injector in it. And I primed the system and it was just spraying fuel everywhere. Luckily it wouldn't start because it didn't have enough fuel pressure, I think, but it didn't start at the time. And then I heard the fuel pouring all over the ground. So I put all new O-rings in it. I put a new 17212 wideband in there. I was just replacing the one that I put in Tim because I ended up taking the one out of here and I put it in Tim. So then I was using Tim's one that was all hacked up. So I put a new 17212 in, the tonneau cover back on, and I was able to find a color matching tailgate at the junkyard. So picked that thing up. Actually looks pretty good. That truck also has the doors on it, which I'm thinking I might replace these doors with those doors. There's also another one at the junkyard that is the same color with this pinstripe on it too. So I have 2 options at our local junkyard, and reason for that is, if you remember me talking about the Lambo door stuff, my hinges are all kind of welded on there right now, so those are kind of janky because they had to cut the Lambo door hinge off to weld these other hinges on. So I might replace the doors, but other than that, check out the interior. So I put new carpet in, I got the seat mounted, got the entire dash mounted, everything's back in there, and I still have the pivot steering wheel so I can get in and out easily. Cleaned up the door panels a little bit, they were all kind of dirty. Right here, so this side looks. Carpet I think turned out pretty decent. It's nice having clean carpet in here. Old carpet was like 25 years old, so it's all pretty nasty. Kind of how the rear section looks. I did get all the interior panels back in, rear panel back in. Did go ahead and re-secure the center console. Ended up having to get another aluminum bracket from the junkyard because that aluminum bracket was missing, so it wasn't really secured down. So this thing is held back in place now. I did get a new top section, like the top armrest section was broken. That's why it has all these holes in it, because it just had a piece of wood on it, and then the top section was all screwed together. So I ordered a new top section for that. Did some cleaning, like cleaned out the cup holders. Everything is back in on the dash. I didn't hook up the radio, but I am going to put something different in there. I did end up having to notch out this panel a little bit. I originally just tried to notch out the rubber cover, but what I think I'm going to do differently is get a cover for it and then keep this rear section notched out. So the hard plastic will be missing, but then the soft part will be over it, so when I do close it, it'll just push the rubber in. Then that should work out pretty well. Seat is all in, mounted and covered. Do got the anti-submarining strap in there, and the 2 shoulder straps, and the Hans. This is actually a Hans harness, so the straps are a little bit more narrow and then they widen back out so the strap can actually ride inside the Hans. I didn't do the lap belt yet because I'm waiting on some eye bolts for that thing, so still got to finish that up yet. But everything on the dash still works like normal. The steering wheel's in the right position and still has the tilt function, so I can tilt it up and then get in and out pretty easily, and it actually works pretty well. So I went ahead and repurposed the overdrive disable button as my trans brake button. So when I put it in reverse, I can just press this button in and then it goes in reverse, or this can be the trans brake, and then it'll be like down in this position right here. So I can basically push it with my finger or hit it with my thumb, and then my hand is right there on the wheel. But everything is all kind of back together, working like it was before. Lights and everything still work. All that stuff's still good. So dash is working like normal. I'll prime this thing and give it a start. So you can see the wheel was not turning backwards, and then when I put it in reverse and hit the button, it started to spin backwards. So the button works nice. I did spend some time sitting in the seat. The seat is very comfortable. It's in a good position. So overall, I'm just really happy with how this thing is turning out. So having the carpet back in, I don't know, the carpet just did something for me where now I want to like try to clean the truck up and like make stuff nice now. Where didn't really care a whole lot before, but now I like have this bug where I want to like try to make it nice. Like I see that it's possible and it should be pretty easy to do, or maybe not easy, but rewarding to do it. So other than some other like wiring cleanup stuff, which I'm not going to do until probably later on, is I got to mount my coolant overflow, and one thing left is hooking up my trans brake button to the two-step. So I just have that on a 12 volt. So I just got to hook up the input wire. I'm not using bump or anything like that, so I don't have the control going through the Holley, and blinkers. I think that's the last thing. Then I got to get the wheels and tires balanced, mounted and balanced. I did get the spikes for it, so that's kind of what that looks like. It'll look really funny on this truck, but we'll see how it goes. So these are the 17x4s in the front, and then I have 15x10s in the back with some Mickey Thompson ET Street Pro radials, and hopefully we'll be able to get it to stick. So that's pretty much where I'm going to end it here. We got our sale going for a couple days yet, so I can't even get it out of the garage if I wanted to now anyways. But it's coming back together. Overall, I'm really happy with how the cage turned out. I was a little kind of iffy on it for a little while, just because it was taking so long. But once I started getting the interior and stuff back in, it really started to come together, and I feel a lot better about it. So thanks for watching. Have a good one.